Hi folks, this is page 359, number 6. So they ask us a bunch of questions with regards to this function here. So first they ask us to describe the transformation to go from log base 10 of x to this function g. Okay, so first and foremost we see that our parent function here is just going to be log base 10 of x. So this is what we're comparing to. But of course, before I can analyze these transformations, I have to make sure that the input's in factored form. So here this is going to be log 1/2 log of negative x plus 3, okay, and then plus 6. And so I'm not going to write these out. We'll just say here we have a vertical stretch by a factor of 1/2. Okay, here we have a vertical translation up by 6 units. Here we have a reflection in the y-axis. Okay, and there we've got a horizontal translation 3 units to the left. Okay, so it's definitely important to do that factorization, or else we would get the wrong horizontal translation. Okay, now by the way, later on in part C, they do ask me to identify the vertical asymptote, and from here we should be able to see that the vertical asymptote is going to be at x equals -3. Okay, but that'll come about as we're graphing. Okay, so next thing they want us to do is to graph the function. So again, the way I suggest doing these graphs is to start off with 3 nice points on your parent function. So you always are going to want to take 1, 0. Okay, at this point here, hopefully you can figure out what the other 2 points are going to be. So 10 exponent 1 is 10. So when x is 10, y is going to be 1. And 10 exponent -1 is 1 over 10. So 1 over 10, -1. Okay. Now we're going to transform these. Okay, so here we've got the x values are going to be divided by -1. So I'll write it out here. So 1 divided by -1. And then we're going to be subtracting 3. The y values here multiply by 1/2. Okay, so 0 multiplied by 1/2, add 6. Okay, and this is what we're going to be following here. So this is going to end up being a -1 minus 3 is -4. Okay, whoops, sorry about that. And we're just going to have 6 for the y value. Okay, so here we've got 10 divided by -1 minus 3. Here we have 1/2 times 1 plus 6. Okay. So here we have -10 minus 3, -13. Here we have 1/2 plus 6, so that'll be 6.5. Okay, here, keep going. Here we have, 1 over 10 divided by -1, so that's -1/10 minus 3. Okay, so that's just going to be, that's like -0.1 minus 3, that's -3.1. Okay, here we have 1/2 times -1 plus 6. Okay, so this is going to be -1/2 plus 6, so -0.5 plus 6 is just going to be 5.5. Okay, so now that we have our points, let's now specify what our vertical asymptote is going to be. So the only thing that affects the vertical asymptote of a logarithmic function, okay, the vertical asymptote is usually at x equals 0. The only thing that's going to affect it is going to be the horizontal shift. Okay, so our vertical asymptote is going to be x equals -3. Okay, and now we have all the information we need to sketch our graph. Okay, so I'll do that here. So let's take a look at our domain values here that we've got. So we've got to go all the way to -13. They're all negative. Okay, so keep that in mind, and all the y values are positive. Okay, so I'm going to put my x-axis, okay, quite low. And I'm going to put my y-axis pretty far to the right here. Okay, so since I have to get to -13, I'm going to go up by 2's here. So -2, -4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So let's put that there. Okay, and for our y's, well, it would be nice to go up by halves, but I don't think I'm going to have enough room. So I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so from there we should be able to determine the points. Okay, so now let's put in our vertical asymptote, which is at -3, so that'll be Okay, somewhere there. And now I'm ready to actually plot the points. Okay, so it's really important to get the good structure before you plot your points. Okay, so here we have -4 and 6. There's 1 point there. Here we have -13 all the way down there, and that's going to be 6.5. So right around there. And then our last point is 3.1, so very, very close to the vertical asymptote. And then that's going to be equal to 5.5. So it's going to be somewhere there. Okay, and because we know what the shape should look like, okay, this allows me to draw the graph fairly easily. Okay, so it grows really, really slowly here. Okay, and then it's going to go down really fast. Okay, and just try to show. Don't worry about being perfect. Just make sure you're showing that it is approaching the vertical asymptote. Okay, I know that if you look on Desmos, it looks as though this line just sort of stops, and sometimes it does a bunch of funny things. Okay, that's just because of the limitations of the screen. Okay, so let's see what else they asked me for here. They asked me for the domain and range. Okay, so the domain we know is the one that's going to be restricted when it comes to logarithmic functions, and we see the domain is going to be everything up until -3, not including -3. So the domain will be -infinity to -3, not inclusive. Okay, but the range is unlimited for logarithmic functions. So this goes to -infinity, and while this grows very, very slowly, there's no horizontal asymptote. It does eventually approach +infinity. So the range is just all real numbers. Okay, that's it for this one.